evening, Facebook family and friends, and welcome to the Doris Hall James Indie Show. Thank you for joining in with us this evening. We're a little late because we had some technical difficulty, but the good thing is we're here now. And this evening, our guest is James Solomon. James is a composer and a songwriter, and he has been writing and composing songs since he was a teenager. And guess what? He is still writing and composing songs. Yes, he is. Welcome, James,
Hi, Doris.
to the Doris Hall James Indie Show. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, and thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Good. And thank you for accepting my invitation.
Right.
Okay? Now, what we're going to do here, we're going to follow you through your musical journey. We're going to start from the beginning, when, what, how, all this began, okay? Up until the present.
Okay.
So are you ready for us to travel with you?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. How did this begin?
I started writing songs. I guess I was ready to write songs even before I was approached to do it. I'll put it this way. When I was young, I used to tell stories to the little kids around me. And they would like come up to me and say, make up a story. And I'd make up a story and that kind of thing. And when I became a teenager, I began to sit in my room and listen to different things like songs by the Drifters, songs by like Mary Wells and things like that. And it will kind of spark your imagination. Now, I didn't imagine me writing those kinds of things, but those things sounded good to me, like This Magic Moment or There Goes My Baby.
Magic.
Right, those kinds of things. So it was funny because when I was in high school, this fellow walked up to me one day and he said, do you go with this particular girl? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, kind of like, what business is it yours, you know?
So what?
Right. And it comes back a week later and he says to me like, you look like a songwriter to me. Like that. I said, okay. He said, why don't you write me a poem first? So I wrote him a poem.
Okay.
Because, you know, and that was the first time I ever wrote a poem. And then he says, oh, this is pretty good. Why don't you, I write songs, so why don't you come over to my house and we'll work with something. So he lived about 5 blocks away from me, right? And I found out later that he had already put out a record. And, you know, people knew him and he was like, he wasn't famous yet, but he was basically somebody that was in the music business. So it started out with him doing chords and that type of thing, and he would come up with the hook, and then he said, like, why don't you help me with the verse? Why don't you help me with this and help me with that? And the other thing he taught me when we were working together was about, I used to listen to singers when I listened to a record. He taught me about the writers and the producers and the sound that each of them had. So I started listening to the writers. I would listen to Holland Doze in Holland. I would listen for Bacharach tunes. I listened for Phil Spector tunes. I listened for Curtis Mayfield tunes. And then I began to see that all of these writers had certain patterns that they worked with. One of the things he taught me was the A-B structure, you know, like the verse and the chorus kind of thing, because he was kind of versed in that. And basically, I still dealt with storylines, and he had a really good command of melody. And he had an odd way of dealing with certain things. With respect to his voice, it was real distinctive. His name was Eddie Holman.
Oh, okay. Shout out to Eddie Holman. Yeah. Good. Okay.
And so we started writing together, and I started to learn a lot about what to look for. And he began to shop some of the songs to different people. I think he had already put out a record called What You Don't Know Won't Hurt You before we took some songs to a person. The first person that recorded some songs that we did was a person by the name of Donnell, at Donnell Records. They did a song on Eddie called She's Beautiful, and on the other side it was called Lost. And then we wrote a song for a fellow by the name of Johnny Alton, and that was called The Heartbreaks. And we also wrote a song for the Donnells, which was a female group he had. And one of the songs was entitled It's Better. and on the other side was Everybody Don't Know. Okay.
It's a good title.
right.
Okay.
And so, this was a time when you could go around to different record companies. There was Swan Record, there was Cameo Parkway, there were all of these little record companies. And the place where a lot of people recorded was Virtue Studios on North Broad
Virtue,
Street.
I remember Virtue.
Yeah, Frank Virtue Studios.
Yeah.
So he got a loan to, the Donnell situation. We did it. It didn't become a hit. So he got a loan because he wanted to do a demo himself. He got a loan from I think this fellow named Phil Silvers. What was his name? His last name was Silvers, I believe. Earl Silvers.
Okay.
Right? Not Phil, Earl. And we went in and we got these musicians to come in and they played these two demonstration songs that we had written. One song was called A Free Country, right?
Free Country.
It's a free country, right?
Okay.
The other song was called He Loves You. And that was based on a discussion we were having about the whole Cyrano de Bergerac thing, And one of the lines in it was, "Must you look so sweet when I tell you he loves you?"
Okay.
That kind of thing, right? So the good thing about the musicians that were there, that did the demo, the musicians were Tommy Bell, Roland and Carl Chambers, Winnie Woodford, and so they did a really great job on the demo.
They did.
Right?
Yeah, they did.
And people from what they call Still Ran Productions, Dino Dynamic, heard it, and they said, "Oh, this guy's talented." His voice would always, as soon as he sings, people were like, "Can I sign you?" That kind of thing. So they picked him up, and basically we became a writing team for what they call Hawthorne Productions. Productions.
Okay.
They had a little office on 59th and Chestnut, right across from the Swank Bar. Right?
Oh, the Swank.
Right
We know where
across the street
Swank
from the
is.
Swank Bar.
Yeah.
And all these different people would come there. Like all these different groups, these up and coming groups would come through because they also they had their own production company, which is called Hawthorne, but they also were the people that were responsible for Barbara Mason. She had a hit, Yes, I'm Ready. She was on Arctic Records.
Okay.
Right? So everybody would come because this is where they saw somebody making hits. The musicians at the time, in the beginning, the rhythm section included Norman Harris and Ronald Baker, right? Earl Young came later, right? But in the beginning, it was Norman Harris, Ronald Baker, and I guess the Chambers brothers, were working with them sometimes. So the first tune we did, matter of fact, the first tune we recorded on there was This Can't Be True. And that was on Cameo Parkway. And they took that demo, It's a Free Country, and they put it on the other side of This Can't Be True.
Okay.
And it did well. I think it charted somewhere, it charted around 57 on the top 100. Like the first time out, that was really good. Because I couldn't, do published work, bring published works, I was going to play a medley of kind of the songs they did for him.
Okay.
They did a lot of songs for him. And then we wrote for a lot of different groups. We wrote for the Preludes. We wrote for a song called It's Deeper Than That. We wrote for the Volcanoes. Yeah, which became the Tramps later, right? A song called You're Number One. We wrote for we wrote this song for a fellow by the name of Larry Clinton, and it was called She's Wanted. And the hook was she's wanted in 3 states. Her crime is heartbreak.
Oh,
Right.
Wow, yeah. That's cute.
Yeah, that's popular now over in England. They like those types of songs.
Yeah.
What else did we write? We wrote for Bernie Williams in the original Blue Notes. We wrote a song called Needless to Say. We wrote a song for the Twilights, and that was called For the First Time. And I think Brandy Wells was one of the members of the Twilights back in those days.
I don't remember Brandy being, but I remember.
Right.
Yes, before we got together. Yeah.
Right. And who else was there? What was the other person? There was a couple of people, but we were working in conjunction. We were a writing team, and Jesse James, who did the horse, was also part of the whole situation. So the people that were doing the production was Luther Randolph, Johnny Styles, Weldon McDougall, and then that included Norman Harris, and that included Ronnie Baker and Earl Young. Of course, Harris, Baker, and Young became like the rhythm section of MFSB after the situation. So I got drafted in '66. They told me everything was going to be all right. Just go tell them that I had a bad back, And so the doctor, I stood in front of the doctor telling him I had a bad back. Because my thing was, look, I'm not going here. I'm going to do my music. I'm a teenager. I'm not working. I'm doing music. That's what I'm going to be. So the guy just says, "Oh, you got a bad back, huh?" So he grabs me and he does me like this, and he all the way down like that. He said, "You look okay to me."
Oh, wow.
If I had had a bad back, I would have been in the hospital, right? So then I went in the military. When I went in the military, I was there for like, a lot of people don't know this. I got drafted, right? You have 36 hours if you want to enlist. And they gave me a choice. They said you can have dental assistant or you can have quartermaster supply. Well, that doesn't sound dangerous. So I took an extra year and I wound up going to Germany for instead of going, that was during the Vietnam conflict. Instead of going to Vietnam, I wound up going to Germany. So when I got out in '69, everything had changed. Yeah.
But let me ask you something. Let me interrupt you just for a second.
Okay.
To talk about a songwriting structure. Is there such a thing nowadays as a songwriting structure?
Yes. Okay. Yes and no. The reason why I say yes and no is because there's always structure. I say no because people try to disguise it a lot.
Oh.
And that's the point.
Okay.
The point is, there's a couple of things with songs. You have to make the complex sound simple. Because if you make it too complex, then people can't hum along with what you're doing.
And
it gets right? I mean, you can really display your musicianship. You can display your musicianship and show, tons of scales and chord formations and that type of thing. But I think when we used to talk about the whistle test, can you whistle the melody and can somebody remember and follow the melody you're dealing with? Because if they can whistle it, then they have to sing it. They have to remember it. They have to kind of want to hear it again.
Something easy to remember. Right. Something easy to remember.
Right. Now with the whole structure point, that feeds into that, because that structure allows people to follow where you're going. They can almost anticipate what is about to happen.
So is it like a verse, sing along, or hook, or verse and a hook and a change? Do we do that now?
No.
What do we do?
Here's what happens. Whatever contract you make with people in the beginning, be consistent with that contract.
Like
if you go da 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 in the beginning, right? Don't go like 5 hours before da 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 comes back. whatever you set up in the beginning. So like sometimes you want to tell a story by going with the verse first, because that creates more suspense, right? And so after a certain period of time, you might say, well, look, let me introduce a change, because this can get monotonous.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, well, that change needs to build to something. Where is it going? Right? And then eventually you get to a hook, and people have standard chord progressions that they follow, and there's an expected turnaround and that type of thing. But sometimes you might say, wait a minute, I can't. This idea is so great, they can't wait for the hook. I got to get the hook right up front.
Right there.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
So then you got to tell a story. And in any case, what it is storytelling. And it's storytelling with musical tools. So you can put on a straitjacket, but then you can take it off.
So you move up to the climax. In other words, you go to the climax, and then you
whatever contract you lay out with somebody in the beginning, just continue to finish the, fulfill that contract.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
and again, you can't say I'm gonna always start with a hook. I'm gonna always start with a verse.
It depends.
It depends. I mean, somebody talked about,
Mhm.
I think this album that Jay-Z did, he didn't have any hooks in it. He
No?
just started telling a story. Yeah, and he got people to follow the story. The one thing that's consistent about work that is sung is there's a story in there somewhere.
It's a story. It tells a story.
There's a story in
It's
there
a
somewhere.
story. And people can relate to your story.
Right.
They have to be able to relate to your story. And that's create when they start to listen.
Right.
They start to listen.
Right.
And that hook is good, and they can remember it. It's easy.
Exactly.
It's easy to sing and remember.
Right. We used to call those kinds of things ear candy.
Ear candy?
Yeah.
Okay.
To sweeten it up, like you're like, like wait,
Gilbert, can you play one of his?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. Let's just take a minute and let's say hello to our Facebook family. Marvin, hi Marvin. Bassman, he's there.
Number
Frank is there. Hap,
number
Russell,
Number 5.
Van. Oh hi Van. Van, I miss you.
I played
Egypt
with
Marie,
Bassman,
Roberto,
I
Adaro,
played with Jeffrey Washington.
Marcy, hi Marcy and Laura. Leland, Tim, hi Tim, Monica, Sheena, Michael, Janice. Hi Sean, I was talking about you today. Talking about you, Miss Sibley and Vivian. Jeff, hi.
And Jeff, I
Henry.
played with him.
Okay, we're listening now to one of the songs.
Yeah, this is Hannah Brown, and she's singing The Key. It's written by George Bailey and myself.
George Bailey. Okay, just a little bit.
You taught me so many things. Set my feelings free. Set my feelings free. Now you are the key.
That's the chorus. That's the single, right?
Right.
Right.
There you go.
So she went from the verse to the chorus, right? Okay.
You are the key. You open up a brand new world. A brand new world. A brand new world for me.
Oh, that's good. Good. That was good.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Now, how do you write? Do you write in the living room? Do you write in the kitchen? Do you write in the bedroom? I mean, how do you write? Okay, for instance, the way I write, I have to be sitting near a piano, and I have to have complete silence. Okay? And I start playing those little chords and stuff and start humming a melody and that kind of stuff. I can't write around a lot of noise, you know? And it'd be real quiet. And how do you do it?
Huh?
How do you do it? You just write?
Look, I was walking down the street one day, and this woman was like, "Keep your hands off each other. Keep your hands off each other. Keep your hands off." I said, "That's a song."
Yeah, okay.
That's right. So, or I'm like doing something, and something comes to mind. I grab a little digital recorder, hum into it, put it down. When I'm ready to devote 5 hours or something, I can develop it.
Okay.
It don't have to be quiet. It's just like I can focus. In other words, there are materials all around you,
Right.
that like help you with dealing with a song. So I don't, like
So there's no way you just write.
no one
You
way.
just write.
It's
Okay.
like if it's an idea, I grab it, and then when I get time to work on it, I work on it. Now, like I usually sit by the keyboard a lot and work because I usually work out things with the keyboard. But we used to like that group that you heard playing. They were a group of writers. we were like everybody in that group was a writer.
Mm-hmm.
There was George Bailey. I forget who was playing bass. No, the bass player wasn't a writer, but the drummer, Noble Watson, he's a player. The guitar player Quincy Jacobs, he's a writer. Ted Agnew, he's a writer. So we all were a group of writers, and we would like.
Okay.
However, we would develop it, then we would bring it to rehearsal, and whoever came up with the idea for the song, they were in charge of running the rehearsal until the song was done.
Because I talk to a lot of writers, and it's all different kinds of ways that people write. I had a meeting or a conversation with Lynn Barry, who said to me, I write a title first, and then I write all the lyrics to go to that title, which makes him kind of a poet, okay? And then I sit down and I begin to develop the melody,
Right.
okay? Some people do it that way. Some people do it the way I do, try to develop the chords first. You know, so it's all different kinds and styles and ways of writing. Earl, how do you write?
The creative process is different for everybody. With me, sometimes I write the lyrics first, then the music. Other times the music first, then the lyrics. And it's been times when I was working on the railroad where as soon as I got to work, a song would go through my head. And I would have to keep that song in my head for 8 hours until I could get home and work it out on the piano.
Gilbert,
So it's different for everybody.
let me ask Gilbert, how do you write? How do you write these songs?
How do I write a song? Well, not like y'all.
How do you write?
I like to come up with a beat first.
Okay.
A groove.
Right.
Or something. And I'll go through the instrumentation first.
Okay.
Right. And then come up with some lyrics
Okay.
for that instrumentation.
So I can say to our Facebook family, there's no which way of writing, right? You can write whatever way you can write. So if you sitting down or walking around and you can hum a tune and begin to write, you could do it that way. You can come up with a beat, you could do it that way. You can do it on the railroad. You can sit down and do some chords on the piano. So as long as you write and you get your tune and your melody and all that together, and you tell a story, it should tell a story, right? Then you can write a song, right?
Yeah, because when I collaborate with people, I write totally different.
Okay.
Somebody will give me a musical track, and then I'll match the lyrics to the track.
So that's totally different, right?
Yeah. And you could be, sometimes I'm carrying around ideas for years, but I can't come up with the right musical treatment. Then all of a sudden, something will say, bingo, that's it.
Yeah.
And then I'll sit down and do it.
Okay. Now, how about who was your inspiration growing up? Who was it that inspired you?
With regard to like songwriting?
Songwriting. Was it a songwriter? Was it an artist? Or you just did it?
Well, again, after I came into it and talked with Eddie about the various people that were producing, well, yeah, he helped me get involved in it. After I talked with Eddie about the various people that were producing, I used to follow like these songwriting teams like Hollanders and Holland, like Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
I'd follow
Smokey, I love Smokey Robinson.
Yeah,
Okay.
I followed Burt Bacharach.
Okay.
I followed the Carole King. I followed the people that did the Drifters. I think Thomas and Schumann. I'd follow definitely Curtis Mayfield. And then as time progressed, I followed people like Gil Scott-Heron. I followed like Cameron Lewis. I followed Babyface. I follow, and the other thing is this, is that songwriting, I came into songwriting with regard to expressing myself, but then there was a commercial aspect of when I came into it. You know, people would say, you're going to write to do a hit record. But after a point, it becomes more than that. It becomes a mode of self-expression. And what I mean by that is that I can write a song about the traditional things about love and that type of thing people are accustomed to, but I can also write a song about what's going on or what is occurring.
Motivation, inspirational. You can
right.
write all those
I can
different songs.
I can write songs for events, or I can write songs that deal with like a play or a movie or something like that. I did a song called for a short indie film called Hair Stories. It dealt with, it was for a braider, so it dealt with natural hair. I did a song. We did a song. Alfie and I recently did a score for this play called 3 Divas 3, and it was about the evolution of like music from maybe the 50s all the way to hip hop and that type of thing. So
can you write something for me now? A couple lines of the song. Come on, let's hear something. Come on, Earl. Yeah. You had some real good words here.
Always time for friends. Always time for friends. You can't believe that no one cares for you. But remember, those who brought you through, there's always time for rain.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Give me 5. That was good. Thank
That's
you.
all right.
Good. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Earl. Thank
right.
you. So that's how it goes. That you can set up and you can write. Now you are BMI. You're a publisher through BMI.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
When we first started, they come up to you. We didn't publish our own stuff when we first started, of course, because we were young. We were teenagers. So then they asked, "What kind of writer you want to be?" I was like, "What?" And they said, "Oh, BMI. Everybody's BMI." So we became BMI basically. I got a publishing company in 1987. It's called Tapa Dali, which is Swahili for please. Essentially, I got a publishing company because I wanted to be able to control, my music. Because there's this
Explain
thing,
that.
right? Yeah, there's a thing where writers and publishers are natural partners, basically. They go half and half on the writer's royalties. The writer is traditionally, provides the content, and the publisher is the one that promotes the content. If you think you can do both, you basically open your own publishing company, or you share in the publishing, just to make sure that everything is going okay. You know what I mean? Because the publisher gets the royalties and they split with the writer.
And they split it out with the
Right.
writer. Okay.
So if you have your own publishing company and you have a little bit of publishing, you can get an idea of what's actually coming in, because they'll send you a check directly, and all you have to do is figure out what portion of the publishing you have, and then you know how much you got.
Yeah.
Overall. Yeah.
So you have your own publishing company.
Yeah.
Okay, those royalty checks still coming in?
Yeah, but it's like,
I know they've
coming
decreased
teenager,
over years.
Yeah.
They decrease
Unless somebody picks up the song.
unless somebody picks up
Right.
the
If
song,
somebody picks it up.
and unless you keep writing and putting songs into your publishing.
Right.
So are you still writing now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We did Alfie and I.
You're with Alfie now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've known Alfie since 1979, and again, I've written with a lot of people, but Alfie's probably been the person that's most consistent that I've written with since that period of time. When I say Alfie like You know, like everybody knows I write with Alfie.
They did.
I've been
Yeah.
writing with Alfie for so long. That's how it is. We did a song called recently. We did a song called. Oh, we did a couple of things. We
Is
did
that the
Three
one?
Divas 3.
Mhm.
That's number 12. That's a play we wrote with.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's a promo for Three Divas 3. And
Number 12.
yeah,
Here we go.
Okay.
and we did
By the way, they talking about Alfie Pollock.
Yeah, Alfie. Everybody knows Alfie.
You gotta say his last name.
so Three Divas 3 is a play about three women from three different eras, and basically the score had to follow the different eras, and the storyline follows their interplay between each other. So basically, and it was done in honor of Evelyn Sims, right? Which a lot of people call Mama Diva. So, like the first tune you'll hear is like a doo-wop type of song, right?
Okay.
Because that's what it's supposed to be. So that's for that era. That's Felicia Wilkins singing.
Oh, Felicia. I know her.
Wilkins, yeah.
Yeah. I know her. Yeah.
And this is Ed Feldman. He plays the guy named Tex.
I'll be there for you.
And this is more like a up-tempo 70s kind of
What
thing.
we said, this would always be how it is, how it was, how it will always be. We're a team.
Then him and Felicia was supposed to have a relationship in this play, so she danced with him. This is more like Broadway.
Yes, our relationship, more than professional, is too confessional.
Who's that? I like
That's
that.
Felicia, right? That's Felicia?
Yeah.
So, but we met Felicia.
For my own good, as you well know.
That's Lee Smith playing, and Lucky Thompson playing drums.
You talked about you, but it's always been about you.
Okay. Now, how about
And this is Suzanne Burgess.
Suzanne Burgess? Yeah, I don't think I know her.
Yeah,
I don't think I know her.
yeah, you do.
I
And
do.
then there's Lauren Locke Jones is in it too.
Okay. So that was for, what was that for again?
That's called, the play is called Three Divas 3.
3 Divas 3?
Mhm.
Okay, now what is going on? What was going on with the John Henry project? What was that?
I didn't bring it.
But tell me about
I
that.
work with a lot with the Philadelphia Jazz Project. Okay.
Okay.
Homer Jackson. He's been really good in these past years for like helping, bringing projects to the forefront and getting different musicians from different camps together
Mm-hmm.
to like play on projects. So the whole John Henry project was based on this. When you think about John Henry, what do you think about in terms of that person?
John Henry.
Think about it. What he represented. Okay, during a period of time where our people would despise, everybody all over the planet was claiming that John Henry lived in their town.
Oh.
Everybody in the planet claimed that John Henry beat the machine in their hometown, right? So he was basically larger than life. And what John Henry represented was man really versus machine, man versus progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what we did. We did a suite in the art museum, and it was called John Henry's Sounds of Progress. It was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was. Really
Did Alfie work with you on that one?
No,
Okay.
it was a guy named Paul Geis. He was a musical director of that, and we
Okay.
basically just took it. We just basically took it and we told lies because that's what people did. With John Henry, they just made up. Like it started out because really, I think it
Okay.
He was involved with a train, the railroad company in West Virginia.
Mhm.
People were claiming him in the West Indies, said it was here. So basically, it was a thing where you could basically put together a suite and do like basically tall tales with it. And that's what we did. And people really enjoyed it.
How about Walter Surrey?
Walter Surrey.
Surrey? Okay.
He came up with, I don't know what the Juneteenth is on here.
Mhm.
Yeah, Play 13, No Longer Bound. That was with Barbara Walker Wright. Yeah, and he came up with No Longer Bound, and we basically did what we called a Juneteenth song, because the people that were doing a celebration for Juneteenth needed the theme song.
Mhm.
So that's what we did. And this is Barbara Walker.
To the grands and the great grands who made a stand.
So this is me and Alfie and Walker Surrey. He wrote
All
this.
of us who helped to change this land. This is our destiny to change the story, to let freedom ring, so we all can sing in the name of the famous and the not so famous. In the name of all of us who work in the name of God, to let freedom ring, so we all can sing. We are free, no longer bound, no longer bound. Everything comes around.
All right. All right.
And the other thing is, when you brought up John Henry, the latest thing I did with the Jazz Project is called the Remedy Project. What the Jazz Project did was, what Homer did was he brought together health professionals from different hospitals, as well as musical professionals, and the health professionals that did music, like on the side, and we got together in the studio, and he's doing what they call a mixtape. He's doing about like 14 tunes that's going to come out probably sometime in October. And if you could play number
Does
14.
John Henry live in Philadelphia?
No, John Henry's passed.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Or did he live in Philadelphia?
No, see,
Where-
he lived.
where?
I think he lived in West Virginia.
Oh, West
But
Virginia.
like everybody claimed him from all over the place.
Okay. Okay.
This is B. Shane Frederick, and this is called Let Us Surround You.
Let us surround you.
This is about palliative care.
Things you want to do. Let us surround you.
How the jazz thing do it.
Yeah. That's Adam Clark
We
playing
got
piano.
the time,
Rolling Jones playing
cause it's
bass, and paper
we got the love,
like we did the paper like we did the same drum.
we got the hope, cause it's you. Let us surround you. We can feel your pain, but we share your fears. Call on all of us, and we'll be there. Gonna be a pain, we don't care. All day and night, we will be there.
And the other one I did with for that Remedy Project is number 16. It's called Deep Seated Problems.
Deep-seated problems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody talk to this driver?
Let's see
Out
this.
and out and out.
Andre
He ain't
Seeley.
going nowhere. Here we go downhill again. I know we talked about this before. When this trip will end, pump the brakes and say, oh, give me a seat. Cannot stand the run. Oh, give me a seat, y'all.
Deep seated problems. Don't we know? I think we all can relate to that. Yeah. Okay, tell me a little bit about this new CD or single you have coming out with Connie Harvey.
Connie Harvey, right?
Okay, tell me about that.
Connie is this phenomenal singer. She's a phenomenal gospel singer, and all of her work that I've heard is spiritual in nature, and she really comes across very powerfully. Alfie did a tune called You, and I assisted, but you gotta play it, and that's the best way I can say it. It's number 6. It's number 15.
Do we really want to play that before it comes out?
Yeah, you do. You want to play, because I'm only going to play a little bit of it.
Okay, all right.
15?
So we're going to give you a sneak preview of
Sneak
the
preview.
song called You by Connie Harvey.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said 15?
15, right.
Day I wake up breathing blessing, and I know just where my strength comes from. In everything I do, I owe it all to you. When I'm in need of direction, you provide the connection. You, I am because of you.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's something we all can relate to, right? And God gives us direction. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly.
great. That's really great. So what inspirational words do you have to give to our audience today if they want to be songwriters, if they want to be composers? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that they all have stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And song is one way of
Yes.
delivering that message.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, what I've noticed is that communities of people gather around song. Like, you hang with your people you feel comfortable with and you write with.
Right.
And, like, I guess at a certain age, almost everybody, remember when we were on the corner, people used to stand on the corner and just sing
Do-wop.
and drink. Or like, when we were coming up, everybody was in the band.
Yeah, everybody was in a
Right.
band. Everybody was in
Exactly.
a band.
Then you got too old, you had to go to work somewhere. But there's always been that situation where music provides community.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as far as the whole professional songwriting thing, that's almost beside the point. The point is that you get together and you commune through music.
Right.
And like we all, like even those rock and roll shows, you could tell like it's a ritual because they're supposed to run up to the stage at a certain point, right? When you hit that note, everybody's supposed to just run and act like crazy. But the bottom line is, these things have been going on for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And we will always be engaged in music. And as far as like songwriting,
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we pass it on, and it keeps being passed on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because the people that took us in the studio, they laid out the ground rules. They basically said, this is what you write about, this is what people want, and that type of thing. And that's what you do. You pass it on to the next generation.
And if you're interested in songwriting or in the music business, you need to learn something about the business of music. You need to learn that so that you can protect yourself and you can get your royalties and you can get your copyrights. It's a good thing when you're able to go to the studio and record a tune in the studio, but then it's so much more to that tune, because once that tune comes out, you also want to be given credit, and if it's played, you want to get your royalties. So you have to have all that information, and you need to be educated and learn that before you start. Now, with that in mind, there's 3 publishing companies that we basically use, right? It's a BMI.
Are you talking about ASCAP?
Yeah.
Well, those are performance rights.
Performing rights.
They're not
Performing rights.
Right.
But they let me ask you something. They're performing rights, but we get our publishing companies through them. Is that how it works? Explain.
You
it
can
to me.
affiliate with them. You can affiliate with BMI or something like that.
Okay.
But they're really performance rights organizations. They don't. Okay, wait a minute. Let me explain a couple of things.
Us.
Right.
Okay.
Because there's different rights.
Okay.
Like people get confused about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can affiliate with BMI. You can affiliate with ASCAP. And I think
CSAC.
CSAC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they talk about that. And that basically deals with airplay or now they do streaming or whatever it is now that they, you know, how they do it. Because these new platforms have created a lot of confusion about that. But make no mistake, it used to mean something, but I don't know what it means anything now. But I'll put it this way. You have different rights, and that's only one of the rights, performance rights. You have mechanical rights. That's based on the quantity that's sold. You know, you get a certain percentage for every CD that's sold, you know, and that's why I said it's kind of crazy now because people are doing downloads and that type of thing. People used to sell units. Now they're renting services for music, and that's throwing the whole songwriting thing into a tizzy. But, you know, that'll be dealt with at some point soon, I'm sure. The other right you have is synchronization rights. If somebody uses your film in, I mean, your music in a film, or they use it in some type of commercial or something like that. And that's getting more. So basically, what I'm saying is this. You need to basically study the copyright law and figure out what you get paid for and and how you get paid. Because again, the one I'm really familiar with is mechanical rights. That's units sold. I'm familiar with performance rights. That's airplay. And then there's synchronization rights. That's if your tune is used in relationship to like another project, like a film or commercial or TV show. The other thing is, what you need to really figure out is contracts. That's why you need you need a lawyer, because you know whatever's in the contract, especially with the mechanical part of it, is what you're gonna get. The other aspect is licensing, because right now not a lot of units are being sold because people get money, get stuff for free. People like artists are putting out whole albums for free, and just basically to sell accessories, you know, with the albums or do tours or something like that. So from a songwriting standpoint, it's really difficult. It's really difficult if that's what you are as a songwriter. But if you have content, you have a lot of content, then you could start to enter into licensing agreements with people that are looking for content to boost what they do. So the song becomes a part of something else. That's why we're really interested a lot of times in plays, or we're interested in movies or that type of thing.
Okay. Well, if someone wanted to reach you, because you have a wealth of information, okay, if they wanted to reach you, how would they contact you? No phone numbers.
No phone number.
No.
Okay. TAFODOLI@gmail.com. I'll say it again.
Okay.
TAFODOLI@gmail.com.
Okay.
And if they speak Swahili, tafadhali.
Tafadhali. Okay.
All right. That means pleasing.
Well, James, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you came in for the interview, and you gave us a wealth of information. Okay. And I wish you all the best of luck with your writing endeavors. Okay. So whatever you do it well. You come back, you let us know how you're doing. And I hope you get some calls from our audience. Okay?
That'd be cool.
All right. Now, you want to take us out, Earl?
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to Philly Live Radio, who produces the show for us. God is willing. This is Earl Coleman. And I want to say thank you to Earl also. And we'll see you next Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thank you. We have Carlos, Carlos Rayleigh.
Okay.
The drummer for Harold Melvin.
All right.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay. All right.
And we are out.
We're out. Okay.
All right, that was good.